April 16th, 2007. We will call to order the special meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Mt.Juliet. I have a brief statement to make. I called a special meeting tonight to address two issues. One of those issues can be disposed of quickly by sharing with you additional information that I received today. The city manager has notified the commission, the department heads, and the city attorney that he will voluntarily take leave beginning on Wednesday, April 25th, and at our meeting next Monday, the city commission will be asked during our regular meeting to appoint an interim city manager to serve during our search for a new city manager. I called a special meeting tonight in order to address an ethics complaint that has been filed against me by Mr. Hatton Wright, the Public Works Director of Mt.Juliet. I believe strongly in open government and accountability of elected officials. And I immediately called this meeting tonight so these allegations would not linger and become a distraction, and so that they would be immediately addressed in public. This is the first time that there has been a complaint filed since the adoption of our ethics policy in September of 2006. So I am going to turn the meeting over to our city attorney, who is the city's ethics officer by ordinance, to guide us through this process. Vice Mayor Haggerty, if you would tilt your microphone in. Ms. Flowers, you have the floor.
Pursuant to Ordinance 2006-41, the City of Mt.Juliet adopted a code of ethics based on the model developed by the Municipal Technical Advisory Service. This ordinance added a new title in the Mt.Juliet Code that specifically creates the ethics code and adopts procedures and provisions for how complaints and violations of the ethics code are to be considered. This model is consistent with state law and the requirements of state law on how municipal government is supposed to implement the Comprehensive Ethics Reform Act of 2006. Pursuant to that ordinance, Mt.Juliet Code Title 13-1-110 designates procedures regarding ethics complaints. It prescribes that the city attorney is designated as the ethics officer for the city. It provides for procedures if there is a request for written advisory opinions. It also, in paragraph 2, specifically provides in paragraph 2C, when a complaint of a violation of any provision of this chapter is lodged against a member of the municipality's governing body, which would be the city commission, the Board of Commissioners, the governing body shall either determine that the complaint has merit, determine that the complaint does not have merit, or determine that the complaint has sufficient merit to warrant further investigation. If the governing body determines that a complaint warrants further investigation, it, being the Board of Commissioners, shall authorize an investigation by the city attorney or another individual or entity chosen by the governing body. It provides in paragraph 3 of that section that the interpretation that a reasonable person in the circumstances would apply shall be used in interpreting and enforcing the Code of Ethics. Pursuant to that particular paragraph, 2C, the procedure, because this is the first complaint that we received under the ordinance related to a member of the Board of Commissioners, you have a 3-tiered decision. You have to determine in open meeting whether the complaint has merit, whether the complaint has no merit, or whether the complaint has sufficient merit to warrant further investigation? That is the first question that you have to answer. If you determine that it warrants further investigation, you have to appoint an investigator to make the investigation of the complaint. So, at this point, the complaint was filed in writing by Mr. Wright to me last Friday. I have forwarded it to the board. You all have copies of it. At this point, are there any commissioners who have any questions about the procedure?
Would you please define the difference between merit, sufficient merit?
The difference.
Is it a subjective thing, or is there some specific guideline that makes the difference from one to the other?
That term, sufficient merit, is not defined specifically in the ordinance. So those ordinarily, in interpreting a law or statute, if there's not a specific definition, you give the words their ordinary definition in Concord. So it would be what the commission determines to be sufficient merit to warrant further investigation. It does not specify whether it's factual merit or legal merit, so it's not any more specific than that.
What is the procedure that we need to go through tonight?
Tonight, if you're prepared to do so, you need to determine whether the complaint on its face has merit, has no merit, or whether it has merit sufficient to warrant further investigation. If you decide that it needs to be investigated further, you need to appoint an investigator, either me or another individual or entity.
Okay, at the risk of sounding repetitive, you said that it has merit, has no merit, or has merit and needs further investigation.
Has sufficient merit to warrant further investigation.
Okay, number one and number three sound pretty close to one another. Has merit and what? I mean, doesn't.
If you determine that it has merit, and therefore you determine that a violation of the ethics code has occurred, then you go to Title 13.1.111 in the ethics ordinance. That section prescribes an elected official or appointed member of a separate municipal board, commission, committee, authority, corporation, or other instrumentality who violates any provision of this chapter is subject to punishment as provided by the municipality's charter or other applicable law, and in addition is subject to censure by the governing body.
Okay, under the rules of the special meeting, and I was approached earlier that there was going to be a comment made by Hatton, Wright. I don't know if there's a provision under a special meeting for citizen comment. Or in this case, just a comment made by the person making the complaint. Is that something that is acceptable under the rules of special meeting?
If the board chooses to get that information tonight, because you've got to make the determination, then you can certainly do that. Because this is a special meeting called under the special meeting statute, we don't go under the ordinary agenda with commissioner reports, city manager, all of that sort of preface to the regular agenda items. So we do not have a special meeting ordinance in Mt.Juliet, so we don't have special procedures for special meetings.
Do we need to take a vote to allow Mr. Wright to speak?
I think that would be advisable.
Right. I'm asking for this gentleman to speak for me.
Is he your attorney?
Yes.
You don't hold that against me?
No, I like you, Daniel.
Well, I'll make the motion to suspend the rules to allow citizen comments, not just having citizen comments. 3 minutes on the timer would apply.
Is there a second to that motion?
I guess we probably need to discuss the advisability of that, correct?
We can't discuss anything unless.
Just a second. Okay, so I'll second it for that reason.
Is your discussion on the advisory